It's weird. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Grace Corrigan, and I'm the employment specialist with INCIGHT. And as you heard, our workshop is being recorded, and we will share a link for that recording later today. And before we start, I want to just share a little bit about INCIGHT. Our mission is changing hearts and minds, leveraging obstacles, and unlocking potential. And we do this through our education and employment programs, which focus on helping individuals with disabilities and barriers. And if you'd like to learn more about our programs and services, you can visit our website, which is insight.org, or just give us a call. Now, jobsnow.org is actually a component of our employment program. And one of the ways we support job seekers is through these workshops, these get ahead events. They're standalone and they provide individuals of all abilities the essential tools and resources they need for their job search. And you can watch other great past workshops on our website, which is jobsnow.org, and I will share that in the chat. INCIGHT also hosts in-person job fairs, and our next event is on Wednesday, September 2nd, and it's downtown Portland at the Northwest Natural Building, and you can register for that event on our website as well. So our workshop this morning is titled Amplify Your LinkedIn Presence. And you're welcome to keep your cameras on, but please keep your microphones muted during the presentation to reduce any kind of background noise. And if you have any questions, you can submit them in the chat and we will address them as soon as possible. And then after our presentation, we're also going to open up for a Q&A, so you'll have time to ask then. So today I am pleased to welcome back Claire. She is a director of employment engagement at Willamette University. And Claire, I'm going to go ahead and just hand the workshop over to you at this point.
Thank you. Yes, very excited to be here. And I will go ahead and start sharing my screen with you all. I am a big proponent of LinkedIn. The kind of the main reason is I myself was able to see the impact that LinkedIn had. Um, Not only for my own career journey, but also opening up additional opportunities and additional connections that I didn't know what was possible. Um, and so today we'll go over a quick LinkedIn overview. I'll share some tips for the various LinkedIn profile sections. And then once you have a profile, then what's next? So we'll go over making connections, getting involved, writing content, and then leave plenty of time at the end for a Q&A. All right. And so LinkedIn, like I mentioned, it is something that I am a big proponent of. It's not like any other social media. I truly see it as a more powerful tool to help you build your brand and ultimately uh, follow different passions and opportunities to expand your career journey. Personally, I got my last three roles, including my current position at Willamette University, from my brand on LinkedIn. Um, Kind of a quick backstory to share how I personally have seen LinkedIn be a powerful tool for career journeys. It wasn't until maybe around 2022 that I really started to be active on LinkedIn. And active, I mean, I updated my profile to be a little bit more than the kind of standard, kind of more basic profile components. I added a little bit more of my personality in there, and I'll go over in the next few slides on how I did that. And started writing content. I was a recruiter. Over the years, recruiting had always been a really hot topic in the job search. And so I started sharing my own personal insights, primarily within university recruiting, which is where my career was. And over the years, I was able to build a little bit of a following. I'm no influencer, but started to get some traction, and ultimately was able to build my own network. And unfortunately, in 2024, when I was impacted by layoffs, I found myself in a position of, you know, not really knowing what my next step would be. And having built a network already, it definitely made my job search a little bit easier. I had, my network already built in, supporting me. And ultimately, uh, after, gosh, 9 months of being unemployed, um, two of my followers who I had minimal interaction with um, reached out to me and said, "We just posted this position at Willamette. I followed you for some time and have been on some of your workshops, and I think you would be a really great fit for this position." And so I applied, and a few months later, I got this position as the director of employer engagement for Willamette University. And that was mainly because I was able to build my credibility, my brand on LinkedIn, where my now colleagues, Hillary and Jeff, shout out, uh, trusted me enough and knew, because of my LinkedIn and what I was sharing, um, that I would be a great fit for this position. And so LinkedIn, all of that to say, can be a very powerful tool for you. As you could see on the slide, it is the number one professional networking site in the world still. Um, it is continues to be the number one source of quality hires, and I'll share a little bit why about that as we go through. Um, and I think some key statistics to share is 97% of HR or recruiting teams use LinkedIn as part of their recruitment strategy. When we hear AI for LinkedIn, many of that comes from the sourcing of talent, the very beginning of the recruitment process, when recruiters are looking for potential candidates to apply for their roles. And again, 97% of them are using LinkedIn to find that talent to apply for their positions. And then candidates with a comprehensive profile, so fully filled out, all the sections are hit, have a 71% chance higher of moving forward for an actual interview than candidates without a profile. And so let's continue on and, kind of share some of those profile sections and how we can make sure that your comprehensive profile is one that moves you forward. All right. So the first section are the photos of your LinkedIn profile. And this can be a little bit of a daunting section. I know not everyone enjoys having their photo online, um, but it is important, I would say, to have a profile photo, because without a photo, it can signal as a red flag to recruiters or hiring managers, signaling that maybe this is a fake profile. And especially in the day of AI and scam accounts, it is a critical part of your profile and signals to recruiters. It can also be a very helpful part of your own brand. And so, a couple of things for the photo. One, it should be a recent one that looks like you. You should take up the majority of the photo. You can always get someone else to take it. It does not have to be a professional headshot. You can see my example there. It wasn't a professional headshot. It was from an event where I was speaking on a panel, and that's also something I recommend. Is it could be a photo that represents you, your personality, something you enjoy doing. I personally enjoy being on panels and having discussions or doing workshops just like this. So that was my profile photo. If you saw my LinkedIn now, you would see it is a fun photo of me with Cesar the llama, if you are familiar with him. He is often in the Portland area making appearances, and I was lucky enough to get a picture with him when he made an appearance on our Willamette campus. And so that is my photo now. And again, you can let your personality shine through. It doesn't have to be a very formal headshot. But it is the first thing recruiters see when they go to your profile. Again, your profile is 14 times more likely to be viewed. In my experience in recruiting, there were many times where recruiters would say in different workshops and across different reports that if there isn't a profile photo, they'll just skip right through it because of the off chance there it may be a scam account. And so not taking that time. And so having a photo removes that barrier for the recruiter. You know, we don't want to give them an opportunity to skip over your profile. And if you are someone who doesn't like to have a photo of you online, that's perfectly okay. You can have a different type of photo in your profile, whether it is a memoji of yourself. I see lots of people use, you know, the um, little photo that you can create on your iPhone or your Android of yourself. Even a photo of your pet, or maybe it's something you're passionate about. Let's say you enjoy painting on the side, or photography, or your pets, something that still represents you and fills that space. And then similarly with the banner photo, that's the one that goes kind of across the top of your profile. The nice thing with the banner photo is it provides additional context to what you do, who you are. It helps your profile stand out and grabs attention of a recruiter or hiring manager who may be looking at your profile, and can help show what matters to you or something you enjoy. So LinkedIn does provide standard banners you can use, but you can also fill it with, again, something that shows a little bit more of who you are. Because ultimately, recruiters and hiring managers or people who just want to connect with you go to LinkedIn to find out a little bit more of who you are, what you do, not just as a career, but things that you are passionate about, what drives you. And ultimately, it's those connections, that those commonalities that make people want to connect with you, learn more, um, or move you forward for an interview. And so now the headline. The headline is typically, you know, your title, or if you're a student, it says, you know, I'm a student at this university majoring in this. But the headline can really set the tone of your profile, and it doesn't need to be limited to what your title is or your employment status or student status. It can represent your skills, your interests, your passions. Um, and can include many different things. If you are a student, it can include your degree or major, any leadership roles that you had or have during your schooling. It can also be specific to what you're passionate about. So you could see I included some examples here. But it is, again, one of the other first things that recruiters see, because it's right below your name, right below your photo. And so it's right there. Um, and again, don't be afraid to add a little bit of your personality in your headline. It could also include keywords of jobs that you are looking for. For example, you can see I have you know, talent acquisition professional in there, but I also have other things that I'm passionate about. DEI, being a public speaker. These are small things that you can include and represent for yourself and show to others who are viewing your profile what you're interested in. When I started adding a public speaker to my headline, I started getting more and more messages from others that were asking me to be a part of panels, be a part of different workshops like this. And it's because they could easily see that it was something I was used to, I've done before, and am comfortable with, and I'm seeking to do more as well. So don't be afraid to add a little bit more to to your headline. And again, it doesn't need to just be your title. Okay, the about section. This can be a little bit of a daunting section for many. And it was for me for a long time. I had a very standard about section where it was really a couple of paragraphs that just explained what I did and what I was looking to do, which is perfectly fine. This section in general, I see as a shorter cover letter almost, an area to help you tell your story. And whereas a cover letter is typically one page, um, on LinkedIn, we're not held to a specific length requirement. And so you can include more of what you want to share rather than what you would include in a cover letter. Cover letters are also tailored to a specific job or company, and LinkedIn on the About section is much more general. It's again about who you are as a whole person beyond the cover letter. And so I recommend, uh, saving that list of your experience and skills for later. There's an experience section that we will get to, but in the About section, share why those skills matter, the impact that they had, how you gained those skills, because that helps really tell the story of you and your career journey and paints more of that picture that recruiters are really looking for. You can avoid buzzwords. Highly recommend doing that. Um, you know, you can absolutely use AI to help you start writing your about section, but then go back over it and make sure it really sounds like you. A big misconception where for recruiters who see different application materials, whether it's a resume, cover letter, or even your LinkedIn profile. And when they actually move you forward to interview, it doesn't sound like you. And it can be very apparent. So AI can be very helpful, but make sure you're going back over it and making sure that the voice sounds like you. It is helpful that if you're writing a longer piece to break up the text into smaller paragraphs. It makes it much easier to read. Recruiters will typically just scan through a LinkedIn, similar to what they do for resumes and cover letters. And that really helps them be able to scan and, get the full picture without having to, uh, you know, go deep into reading one lengthy paragraph. And then invest some time, get feedback, and don't be afraid to use this section to market yourself. It can be challenging to, you know, talk highly or brag about yourself. But this is the time to do that, especially if you are currently on the job market. Um, Use that about section to highlight your skills and really showcase yourself. Now, if you're just getting started on your About section, I have a go to format that includes three key paragraphs. The first paragraph is talking about what you are currently doing, the skills you're learning, and how you use them. And the second paragraph, you can share some background context, how and why you are where you are, what got you there, what motivated you to get you to this point. And this it can be, a little bit of why you chose the field that you're in, or why you're choosing to transition into the field you want to transition to. And then finishing off with, again, what you hope to be doing, what you want to be doing going forward, what impact you would like to have, and how you plan to apply what you had just talked about and mentioned in the prior paragraphs to what you want to do going forward. And while that is a three paragraph format, Again, you can expand as much as you'd like. There is no length requirement on LinkedIn. There might be a word requirement, but I think it's 2,600 characters or 2,600 words. So here are some examples of those. You will be getting these slides to read through a little bit further. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next section, which is your experience. And similarly to a resume or the cover letter that we mentioned, there's no length requirement here. So you can include other experiences that you may not include on a tailored resume because, again, we're not limited to a length. And adding work experience to your profile leads to 8 times more views, 5 times more connection requests, and 10 times more messages. And it's not only adding your experience, but adding bullet points to that experience, similarly, like you would on your resume. And so, a couple of things for your experience section. You do want to make sure it's up to date, that what's on your resume when you submit it matches what is in your experience section on your LinkedIn. But maybe you have a couple of more things again that maybe weren't as relevant for a tailored resume, but can be included on your LinkedIn profile. I recommend using relevant keywords. Again, not necessarily buzzwords, but relevant keywords to your type of role, to your industry, things like that to help increase your visibility. You can highlight certain accomplishments. Oftentimes on your resume, it is about data and impact and outcome. On your LinkedIn, you can share a little bit more of some of your other accomplishments that may not be directly tied to a specific data set or a number. Sometimes an accomplishment is finishing that big project. Sometimes it is learning something new during your job. Those are also accomplishments that you can still share on your LinkedIn and still include any data to emphasize impact. Um, Highly recommend describing in actions. We want to know, and we being recruiters, hiring managers, we want to know what you did. And so a good format that I again like to share for your bullet points is starting with an action, providing context, and then finishing with impact. And I will have a couple of examples later on that you'll be able to see. And then showcasing your transferable skills. So this section is really important. I'm a big proponent on transferable skills. Even if you may think a specific position is not relevant for what you're trying to do, there are transferable skills in every scenario, regardless of what type of experience it was too, whether it was working experience, volunteering, um, you know, any type of learning. Transferable skills are critical, especially if you are looking to maybe pivot a different career path, or jump into a different type of role. Showcasing your transferable skills is definitely critical for your experience section on LinkedIn. Okay, so those are some of the core components. Here are some other recommended sections that you can include, kind of depending on your own personal journey. So there is an education section if you're a current student or recent graduate, or especially if you are applying for roles that require a certain degree, highly recommend adding your education. If you are a current student or a recent graduate and you are looking to apply for roles geared towards students, don't forget to include your expected graduation date or your graduation date as a whole, because it is critical for your eligibility for certain positions geared towards students. So keep that in mind. You can also include coursework that may be relevant to the types of jobs that you're looking for. Projects are also great, whether it is a from a class or just a personal project or a personal passion that you may have. These are great to include because it shows your demonstrated experience. It allows you to highlight some of those demonstrated skills um, as opposed to, just kind of listing different um, skills that you may have. Your projects can be a place where you you apply those skills and can showcase that. And then volunteering often goes overlooked on LinkedIn, but 41% of recruiters say that they consider it on par with full time paid work experience. And 20% of hiring managers say they've hired someone because of volunteer experience. And so, thinking about that, it really can lead to different opportunities for your career because it can still be a place that you demonstrate certain skills that you have. It can also demonstrate the different passions that you may have. For example, my job isn't necessarily in the animal welfare type of industry, but I have a passion for animals. And I love volunteering at my different animal shelters, at different rescues, and things like that. And I have that on my LinkedIn, mainly because it's something I like to share and talk about. And not necessarily anticipating that I would be moving into that type of field or industry. However, mixed with, me talking about, public speaking on my LinkedIn as well, I have had opportunities where I was able to host a different training at some of my local shelters here, provide certain training on project management for them because they saw that I'm open to doing these types of speaking and training opportunities, and I have a passion for animals. And so, even though it's not directly tied to my job or what I do as a career, it opened up opportunities for me. Similarly, um, I talk openly on LinkedIn about some of my own invisible disabilities. I have autoimmune conditions, and with that, I have arthritis, and it makes things challenging out in the world. And I talk about my experiences, not saying that you necessarily need to do that or share all of your personal details. Um, but that also has opened up opportunities for me, just sharing some of that information and um, opened up possibilities for me as well, being able to share that. So, all these different sections can be and lead to opportunities that you may not have thought of or may not have thought existed in the first place. Okay, so you have a LinkedIn, you have your profile. So what's next? Networking shouldn't only occur when you're looking for a job. The best way to really start, building your network is before you actually need it. That way, when it comes time and you do need support, you have a built-in network that you've already had relationships with who can support you as you are going through any type of transition. And so the easiest way to get started is looking through the list of people who you may already know. On LinkedIn, you do get a suggested list, and this can include family, friends, peers, people you've worked with in the past. And as you start connecting with them, more suggestions will appear for you. So, highly recommend starting there. Um, but having an extensive network can also broaden your reach on LinkedIn and expose you to interesting content that they may post, opportunities of workshops such as this, and all of those things can help you grow. Keep in mind, if you are sending a connection request to someone you don't know or haven't met before, or just had a brief interaction with, always add a connection request note. Um, with that in mind, sending a note can often be awkward, especially if it is a stranger that you've maybe never met. So something I like to do on LinkedIn is look through their profile, find something that you have in common with that person and include that in the note. It's very helpful to help break the ice and share why you are choosing to connect with them. And then you could do something similar by following and connecting with other professionals in industries or roles that you're interested in. Something I like to do is go to company web pages that I'm interested in, go to that people tab on their page on LinkedIn, and just start searching for titles that you hope to see yourself in, or filter for professionals who attended the same school as you. Often alumni like to help other alums. You could filter for all kinds of things that help you find a common denominator, making that connection request just a little bit a little bit easier to send. Another tidbit, when you send a connection request and you add a note, when that person accepts your connection request, that note automatically turns into a message, kind of prompting them to respond and makes it a little bit easier to start that open communication as well. And then getting involved. So you can make connection requests, other ways that you can find um, individuals to connect with is looking at different groups that you can join on LinkedIn. There's lots of different groups available out there. Um, if you are looking for entry level roles, or again, if you're a student, this one, entry level jobs and internships, college recruiter, there's over 63,000 members there where you can look through that list and find people to connect with. You can also find groups that's more focused on your industry, your interests, your own career goals, and connect with like minded professionals in your area of interest. And then these new connections, the companies, the organizations you follow tend to offer different events or workshops, networking events sometimes. And whether it's virtual or in person, highly recommend taking advantage of those events to not only grow yourself in different learnings, but to network and make new connections. And then creating content. This is the easiest way. Well, I shouldn't necessarily say easy because sometimes creating content can be a little daunting, but it is the easiest way to amplify your profile and your personal brand, engaging with content. And this can be simple, like liking or reposting content you find interesting. You could take an extra step and comment with your thoughts on a post. And then to help you generate certain ideas, if you are, wanting to comment on anything or even make your own post, these are some questions that you can think about. Um, did the post teach you something new? Did your perspective change? Was there a call to action that you can comment on? Or is there something you can add to the conversation? And these are all things you can also think about if you are wanting to write something yourself. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Something I did when I first started creating content was followed people who were already good at creating content. And I started with, again, following them, liking, reposting, commenting, and seeing what others posted, certain topics. And then it led me eventually to become more comfortable in starting my first post. And my first post was actually just an introduction to myself when I revamped my LinkedIn profile. Again, back in 2022. And so it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be personal, or it doesn't also have to fit the box of what's professional. Um, but it could be something again where you're thinking of some of these questions, and you're looking to again add to the conversation on LinkedIn. All right. So just to kind of recap on some highlights here, and again, you'll receive these slides. So the link to my LinkedIn will be available. But have a complete LinkedIn profile. If you don't have one or it's minimal, go through and see what you can add. Build your network, and don't forget to send a connection request. Note, if you find me on LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me, but please share a note, even if it's just saying that you saw me here. Um, that way I know why you're connecting with me. Similarly for others. Don't be afraid to be active. It can be scary to put yourself out there, but it can also lead to so many opportunities. So, kind of balancing a little bit of that risk there. And then again, I shared my LinkedIn as just an example. Again, what I did when I was revamping my LinkedIn was identify certain people who had LinkedIns that I really loved, and were a part of some groups that resonated with me. And then, you know, took a little of what they had and made it my own. So I hope you could do that with my LinkedIn as well. So thank you. I feel like I talked so quickly. I had a lot of content to share, but very happy to answer any questions. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now.
All right, everybody, feel free to unmute, put your hand up or however you want to do it. And then and we can be in an orderly fashion. But thank you, Claire. That was great. I definitely learned some stuff. I was really surprised that 97% of the HR and recruiters use LinkedIn. I had no idea it was that large of a percentage.
Mhm. Yes, a little bit more on that too. Oftentimes LinkedIn recruiters will source directly on there. Recruiters, we have our own kind of back end process for using LinkedIn. But even if you apply to a role, oftentimes recruiters will go from your resume directly to your LinkedIn, because resumes and cover letters, again, they're one page. It gives you a snapshot of a person. And we hear so much from recruiters and companies of this fit, this idea of fit for a company. And oftentimes they're going to your LinkedIn to see more of who you are as a person beyond your resume or cover letter, to have a better assessment of what that fit might be. So it is very much used.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question, but I can't find the raised hand thing.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead, Terry.
I feel like it moved. It's the last time I was on LinkedIn. I mean, on Zoom. Two questions. Number one, is there a way to see who's looked at your profile? Because a lot of times it's
Mm.
they've blocked who they are. And is there a way around that? And can you ever I hesitate to comment or post or do anything like that because I kind of chicken out a little bit, to be honest with you, and I feel like everybody's already said everything. I mean, I guess are there swim lanes you should stay in? Like some people are like, this is not about personal stuff, but some people post that, and or this is supposed to be business, or this is just the new Facebook or whatever. Like, are there any guidelines about posting?
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. In terms of people who viewed your profile, from my understanding, the only way to get names is if you have LinkedIn Premium. And so that is like the extra paid service. which for some it can be worth that monthly payment. It does come with other features as well. The one I primarily like to highlight is LinkedIn Learning. So they have different certifications that you can get with premium. And so I would say balance what you're looking for and how much it may cost. I don't know the cost off the top of my head. Um, Something
But
you can also, oh yeah.
even if you have that, can't they still block it? Like they can block so that their name isn't seen. So even if I have that premium or whatever, because they do have it, I think on their end they can still block.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so on your own profile, you can choose different privacy levels, and one of those is um, blocking when you're viewing other profiles. And so that premium cannot get around.
Okay.
Yeah, good call out there. And then your other question on limitations to post. You know, of course, terms and conditions on LinkedIn. I will say that. But to me, if it's related to what your hope is in terms of like your career or opportunities or support that you're looking for, I personally don't limit myself to what's considered professional, mainly because if I did, I would have never spoken about, my experiences with, my own mental health, my own autoimmune conditions. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have gotten other opportunities. I wouldn't have met other amazing individuals that I've been able to connect with. And so to me, I don't see, the strong need to be limited. I would say do what makes you comfortable. Not everyone wants to share their mental health, and that's perfectly okay. Um, and so I would limit it that way. The other thing that I am seeing in certain reports is I think by 2030, 35% of the workforce is going to be Gen Z, which means a large population on LinkedIn is also Gen Z. And I don't know any Gen Z person who limits themselves on social media. And so I see this idea of what LinkedIn is and what it can be to be changing. And so, yeah, that's what I would recommend is doing what makes you comfortable, but of course, keeping within um, any of those like terms, conditions, and things like that LinkedIn has.
Thank you.
Thank you, James, for pointing out where the raised hand button is now under the React. And Leah is saying that you can get LinkedIn Learning free with most library cards.
Yes, there definitely there are, I would say like other groups, maybe within your community, if you're a part of a school or university, sometimes those places will offer discounts or cover cost of LinkedIn Premium. So definitely take a look at that if you are a part of something already, because it might be something that they offer.
Can you kind of describe what the LinkedIn Learning is? Is
Oh, yeah, definitely. So LinkedIn Learning is one of the modules that come with LinkedIn Premium. And it's essentially where companies or even individuals can post different trainings and users can take those trainings or workshops or webinars to get certified in whatever that topic is. And so for companies, let's say you are in data and you are needing and wanting to upskill your Excel skills. LinkedIn has many different versions of Excel trainings. So you can get certified in this particular skill, which can help give a little bit more maybe credibility to your skills when you have something like that. And then again, there's many others on there. I will say too, if individuals are posting, they do have to go through a process to make the training, certification worthy, I guess you can say. So it's not just, you know, me going on there saying get certified. They do go through a process for approval. So there's many of those on there that you can take from hard skills like Excel or data to other things like leadership or communication. Um, so highly recommend taking a look at that, and those certifications live on your LinkedIn as well. So people who go to your profile can see that you've been certified or took this type of training.
Great. Anybody else? Pamela, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm trying to transition out of teaching,
Hmm.
and elementary at that. So, you talked about training, and it made me think about I ultimately would like to market myself as being trainable
Mhm.
and someone that wants to learn. And, that goes hand in hand with a teacher. But I find it's hard for me to put that out there, and I guess I feel weak in a way. Like, it doesn't seem real strong to say, I'm trainable. I want you to train me. Like, that sounds awful. I know from from the other side. But I don't know. I just thought it might be worth asking any advice that if hopefully I'm making sense. But
Mhm.
I, yeah, for making a hard transition like that, um,
Mhm.
any advice as far as, yeah, like, do you feel like there are places that do want to train you and do want to educate you in their way?
Mhm.
I'm like trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
I guess how to find them too is
Mhm.
another big thing. So,
Yeah. No, definitely. And and fully understand the fear in that. I mean, transitioning to a new career path is can be scary in itself. And then putting yourself out there to do that and make it happen can be even more scary. But what I would say is actually a little bit of the opposite. Having the ability and also the desire to be trained and receive coaching, take feedback, is probably one of the top skills that employers look for. Regardless of your level in career, because even if you're going from the same job to the same job in a different company, they operate differently. They do things differently. And so they always want uh, people who can adapt, who have this, what's often referred to as a growth mindset, something that leaves them open to input and opinions and the opportunity to change, because that also makes you more desirable as a candidate, as opposed to someone else who might be coming in saying, I know everything, I don't need feedback, or taking feedback in you know kind of the wrong way. And so I would actually encourage you to think about that a little bit more, and you know even leaning into that as someone who is transitioning. Having been an educator, you have so many skills that employers desire. um, I could imagine communication is one of those top skills. Having the ability to even especially if it was elementary school, have a level of patience and understanding and keeping calm in chaotic situations. Those are all skills that employers are still looking for. And if you are transitioning, they want you to be open and teachable and open to feedback. And so um, I think that is something that I would suggest leaning into. Um, and yes, yeah, Terry put in the chat, using a phrase such as having a growth mindset with a passion for continuous learning. Like that is a great way to say that and write it on your LinkedIn.
I don't know if you're looking in the chat, Pamela, but there's several people that are giving you some advice.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely look at that, and I appreciate that
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah,
lot.
of course.
Anybody else have a question or a comment? I enjoyed the part you talked about volunteering because actually I had been a bookkeeper for 30 some years, and then I went to a Jobs Now job fair, and I met one of the founders and shared my resume, and I I spoke to the fact that I had all this volunteer experience as an event planner, along with my bookkeeping skills. And I kind of believe that's why he thought, well, maybe she'd make a great employment specialist and she could create job fairs and workshops. And um, so I would like to stress that as well, that what we do is we volunteer. We might not be getting paid, but we definitely are always learning new skills. And it's it's a great asset to add to your resume or your LinkedIn account. And I would suppose probably now the thought of putting LinkedIn on your resume is a really good idea, especially if your LinkedIn profile is built and up to date.
Mhm. Yeah, highly recommend. If your LinkedIn is complete, having it on your resume is a great thing to do. Makes it easier for recruiters to find you, which also makes them more inclined to move you forward as well. Um, and something you could do, you can also customize your LinkedIn URL instead of having it be very long with, a jumble of characters. You can customize it to be your name and a couple of numbers or something, depending on, um, if your name was taken or something like that. And so that can make it a little easier to copy and paste in your resume as well.
All right. I see a couple people have their hands up, but SW is asking, do you have any opinions about page design details, like personalized backgrounds?
Mm. Yeah. So on your LinkedIn, for your banner photo, highly recommend doing something personalized. Again, it's something that can showcase a little bit more of who you are, especially if it can highlight certain, interests or passions that you may have. It can be a really great conversation starter too. Or allow others to find commonality between them and your profile too. So highly recommend adding any type of personalization to your LinkedIn.
Renee, you want to go ahead and ask your question? She's got it in the chat. I am a mature member of the workforce and making a career change. How do I represent the depth of experience without aging myself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, including your experience on your LinkedIn, that can, showcase the depth of your experience that you have. The the idea of age has definitely become more of a conversation, I think, in the career force. Many individuals that are um, deep in their career have started taking off, their graduation date from college. So no one can like do the math there. Um, I don't know who's taking the time to do the math. Definitely not me as a recruiter, but yeah, I know it's definitely been a conversation. And so you can include as much as you would like to include on your experience section if you're concerned of what the optics of that. You don't have to include everything. I like to say the past 10 years is usually the most relevant. Um, and then adding in your about section. I think that really is a key place to share more of yourself, especially if you're making a career change, and highlight some of the things you want to highlight in your experiences rather than adding a full detailed experience list. Um, so if that's something of your concern, I would say lean more into the about section for yourself. And then you can still limit a little bit of your experience section.
All right, Lisa's got a good last question here. What are the common things people seem to forget to complete on their LinkedIn profile?
Yes. I would say the about section people tend to skip. So I wouldn't skip that. And then adding bullet points to your experience section. Those two tend to be the most forgotten, and are also two of the more critical areas or sections on a LinkedIn. Um, so I would recommend making sure those are complete. And then again, the sections that I talked about specifically in the presentation, you'll be able to see after when the slides are shared out. So those are the sections I recommend completing, and then there are those optional sections that you can add if you'd like to.
All right, well, this has been a wonderful session. I hope everybody is going to just rush out and make their profile much better. I know I've got two screens, so I'm looking at my profile while this is going on, and I need to go back in there and do some cleanup, that's for sure. But
Yes.
thank you for sharing again this time around, Claire. You were with us last event, and this was kind of part two of it because so many
Mhm.
people had asked questions about LinkedIn. And so also thank you to everybody that's here today and participated. Claire did share her PowerPoint with me. So once the recording is up on our website, I'll send an email out and attach that PowerPoint. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.